Okay, my name is Dennis O'Leary. I'm a community member and school board trustee in the Oxnard School District. I've been involved in this situation, let me call it, with Miss Rosalba Moran now for about a year and a half. Tomorrow, Tuesday, she will be going to court. I'd like to read a statement, if I can, to begin with, and I will have Theodora speak, and then we'll take questions and comments and maybe have some further comments afterwards as well. The statement is, tomorrow, the case of Rosalba Moran will come to court charged with murder and unauthorized entry into the United States. I am calling for a due process and justice for Rosalba. Justice does not mean that I consider her entirely innocent. I ask that justice witness all the aspects and evidence in the case. Rosalba was raped, reportedly by a family member in Mexico. Rosalba, 19 years of age and pregnant, fled to the USA to live with a family in Oxnard. In the months that followed, information and services were either missed or denied. Pre- and postpartum depression should be explored. I want a thorough presentation of all the aspects in her case presented in court. It's my hope that a good, solid legal defense will include all parts of Rosalba's history, including her indigenous upbringing and her personal past. Rosalba comes from a proud and ancient society that was historically overrun and even today too often marginalized, even in their native country. Often outcast and abused, the Mixteco people are too often the last to seek rights, justice, and services. I am calling for an informed judicial process in the case of Rosalba Moran. I recognize the grave actions cost a newborn's life. I also consider Rosalba a victim. I want this to go beyond Rosalba's case. As a community, we must recognize that Ventura County today has over 20,000 persons of Mexican indigenous ancestry. Many are fearful, no matter how good intentioned, of American authority or services. The understanding of the Mexican culture does not necessarily mean that we understand the newly arrived indigenous community. I hope that a fully informed legal defense be considered by a jury of our peers. I call on all of government agencies and the community organizations to promote services, including the safe surrender of a baby law, to prevent future tragedies such as the one that occurred in this case.
Good morning. My name is Theodora David Cornyn. I do community ministry here in Ventura County. I'm a member of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of the Conejo Valley, and we have two other churches here in Ventura County. One's here in Ventura, and one is in the city of Santa Paula. My home congregation's up in Newberry Park. I'm also a member of CLU, which is Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice here in Ventura County. And as well, I work with the National Farm Worker Ministry, and one of the things I did this morning in preparing was to bring my library of books on the theology of working on behalf of the marginalized people in our community. That's my ministry. So I'm going to read my statement, and I'm sorry I don't have any copies, but maybe I can make some and send them to you. We are here today as concerned citizens and also as new friends of Rosalba Moran. In my capacity as a community minister, I have been visiting this young woman weekly for the past 11 months. Rosalba has been in our Ventura County Jail for nearly 1 year now. Rosalba is friendly, thoughtful, and kind. She has a beautiful laugh and often talks about her life in her small village with her stories of how she grew up in a remote indigenous community in Oaxaca in southwestern Mexico. I am here today because I believe that Rosalba herself may be a victim in this situation. One question I've been asking, and I haven't had an answer yet, is do they also have the DNA of the infant's father? I have not heard about that. Where is he, and is there an extradition possible from Mexico to the U.S. to hold the dad accountable as well as the mother? I have never asked Rosalba directly about what happened that day, but I do know that she was young and very unfamiliar with life in the USA when all this happened. Rosalba had found work as a farm worker in local strawberry fields here in Oxnard. She had only been here a few months when all this occurred. I believe that 18 months ago, a tragedy happened in the fields, and I do not want this trial to be another tragedy now. We ask that the courts and the press consider this case from all sides. Thank you.
Curious that a child has been lost because of this tragic event. Personally, I believe that Rosalba was in desperation. Services apparently did not reach her, or they were refused. We need to find that out. I also have spoken to Rosalba on 3 occasions while in jail, and my concerns were basically 4 questions each time. Did she feel that she was getting proper representation? Was she getting adequate medical attention? Was she getting psychological help or counseling of any type? And did she need or want representation from the Mexican consulate, which is located locally in Oxnard? And throughout the year that I've known her in person, the answer to the representation, unfortunately, had always been no, that she believes that very little had been done. Medical attention has improved, apparently, and recently she said that she was being taken care of. Psychological help or counseling, apparently, in her case, has been non-existent. And yes, we have worked out that she has been able to meet with the Mexican consulate at least on 1 occasion, and I believe recently they were going to meet with her again. We're hoping that Rosalba gets justice. Justice does not necessarily mean that she's going to be walking out of the courtroom a free woman after the court process. But we want all the facts to be laid out, and we also want to challenge the community that we need to always work always harder to try to make sure that somebody doesn't fall through the cracks like it did in the case of Rosalba, that lives aren't lost because services aren't accepted as they are intended from our community. Thank you.
And may I also, I'd like to just make sure that everyone knows that this trial is due to begin tomorrow. Is the first day. It'll be right here in the county courthouse, the Ventura County Courthouse, right behind us. In courtroom 13, it begins at 8:30 in the morning. And I invite anyone who is interested in this case to please join us. We want to show support for Rosalba from the wider community, the larger community. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
What services in particular are you speaking of that you think should have been available?
Right. Well established. The first one, and this probably should have been the last possible service that should have been used, is California has a law called the Safe Surrender of a Baby Law, and where a mother can give up a child within 72 hours of birth. We do know that the pregnancy in this case was full term. It's been reported upon that the baby was not abused other than being left. And we would hope that more people know about this law, but also services on prenatal care, medical insurance, on psychological help. These things are free, and most of them do not require even citizenship. Yes, this is a situation. Rosalba also has a charge of false documentation and entering the country without permission. Again, this was a 19-year-old young lady who was raped and pregnant because of the rape. And we need to go beyond that and serve the person. So throughout this process, I believe Rosalba had different services that she could have used to help her and to help the baby. Unfortunately, and we don't know the reason why yet, unfortunately, those services were never rendered. We miscommunicated. Sure. Oh, what services do I believe should have been provided, and who should have provided those services? As much as the government services and the community organizations try to get out the word, we're not going to be guaranteed that every agency and every organization will be able to get that word to the people who need to hear that. Is there one particular agency that failed? No. We all failed. But we also have to realize we just have to try harder, because there's always going to be that one person, that one young lady, that one expecting mother that's going to miss the information. I failed myself, and and I take responsibility in that as well. We need to try harder in the future.
Is there some reason you don't have confidence in
Her defense attorney has spoken with her very little. I am not privy to all the conversations, naturally, but her defense attorney was hired by her family. Her family put up what they considered, I'm sure, as a lot of money, $10,000. I believe $10,000 for an attorney in a murder charge is possibly not enough to motivate that person, and I'm hoping that this attorney will be motivated, and we in the community will be watching. So I wish him all the success in his case, but I also hope that he covers all the aspects of this case and does his due diligence.
Can you say and spell your name for me, please?
Sure. My name is Dennis O'Leary, DENIS O apostrophe capital LEARY.
Could you tell me why we are here?
We're here to bring to attention this case and also to call for information on the entire case to be brought out. I don't want just a piece of paper to go across the table in this case. A tragedy happened, I understand that, but I also want to have the backstory of why Rosalba was also a victim in this case. And beyond that, I want our peers, the jury, to decide if there should be any, what's the word I'm looking for? Any sentence.
Is there some belief, some cultural differences here?
Rosalba,
Bearing on the conduct of the action that happened?
Rosalba is from the Mixteco community in southern Mexico. Spanish is not her first language. She speaks an indigenous language, Mixteco. She does speak Spanish as well, but culturally the Mixteco community has always been an outcast, even in Mexico, from Spanish-speaking Mexican citizens. here in the United States, much of the Mixteco community seems fearful to go forward because being an outcast follows them even in this country. So there's some tendencies to stay away from services quite often, or to speak up if there's a crime. So we're here to try to bring the community's attention to this and to call for justice. And what justice will be decided by the jury, but we want to make sure that all the issues are put in front of them first.
If I could add to that.
Please.
These orange bracelets have a phrase on them which says, "No me llamas Oaxaquita." There's been a problem within the Spanish-speaking community here in Oxnard among some of the kids in some of the public schools that they've been bullying the children from this part of Mexico, from Oaxaca, the Mixteco children, even within the Spanish-speaking community. So these bracelets were created for children to be able to wear. There's a Tequio group, and I offer this to anyone here today who would like one.
Dinos la razón por la que estamos aquí.
Estamos aquí porque estamos llamando la atención a ese caso de una mujer mixteca que fue violada en México por un pariente. Vino a los Estados Unidos arrancándose, ya esperando hijo, y se quedó con una familia, su familia aquí en Oxnard. Parece que no aceptó o le rechazaron todos los servicios. Mientras tanto, y al final de un embarazo de 9 meses, ella dio luz a la criatura en un campo de fresa y lo dejó ahí, y después en la mañana le encontraron ya muerto. Una tragedia. Pero lo que nosotros estamos llamando la atención, que también la Rosalba Moran también es víctima, porque ella no o sabía o fue rechazada por los servicios de los programas que le podrían haber ayudado. Mañana va a empezar la corte y estamos pidiendo que el jurado, en ese caso, saben de todos los hechos, de toda la historia, no solo que el resultado de que perdimos una criatura, pero también que saben de lo que pasó a la Rosalba antes de ese hecho, antes que ellos decidan si es culpable o a qué grado es culpable, y antes que hacen un jurado.
¿Tú crees que esto se pudo haber prevenido?
Sí. Siempre hay agencias de gobierno, hay agencias de organizaciones que siempre estamos, y me incluyo a mí, siempre estamos tratando de educar a la comunidad para informarlos y también para darles la atención que necesiten y merecen. En el caso de Rosalba, algo fracasó. No llegó la noticia o fue rechazada, no sabemos. Tenemos que siempre trabajar más duro en eso para educar a los que viven aquí, que hay servicios, que queremos que la familia crece, queremos la salud, la educación, los derechos. Y siempre habrá una persona que no le llega la información. Siempre tenemos que trabajar más duro para tratar de informar a esa persona que no llega la información. Y más en la comunidad inmigrante, que muchas veces temen del gobierno o las organizaciones o ayuda.
¿O que no saben?
O que no saben. Entonces tenemos que invitar a ellos que se informen y también que ellos pasen la palabra a los que vean que necesitan esos servicios también. Podríamos haber hecho mucho en el caso de Rosalba, pero la verdad no sabemos en cuál momento fracasamos.
También dijiste que ¿Has tratado de comunicarte con el abogado?
He intentado, me entrevisté con el abogado de ella una vez. Le di la posibilidad que yo tengo bastante conocimiento en el caso y es decisión de él de cómo va a manejar el caso. No creo que voy a estar presente en la corte, no me van a pedir la información que tengo y ese es derecho de él y el derecho de ella. Lo que yo estoy pidiendo que él hace el esfuerzo de representarla bien. No quiero que ese se pase en las sombras otra justicia sin reconocer los hechos que nos llega hasta hoy día. Entonces vamos a estar vigilando el caso y vamos a estar vigilando el trabajo de la representación de Rosalba en ese caso.
El caso da inicio mañana.
El caso empieza mañana a las 8:30 aquí en la corte. Tienen la carga de asesinato y también de entrar al país sin permiso, inmigración. Puede ser que hasta que llega a ser libre el mismo día, como puede tener una cadena para vida. Yo no estoy diciendo que quiero que necesariamente la dejen libre el mismo día. Sí quiero que el jurado, bien informado, bien educado, deciden qué será la justicia. Una injusticia será que ellos deciden sin esa información. Entonces, yo estoy llamando la atención al sistema de la Corte pidiendo que todos en la Corte presenten el caso, mucha información, todos los puntos, porque a mí yo considero a Rosalba como víctima también. Y ellos tienen que decidir hasta qué punto llega la justicia en ese caso.
Ok, muchas gracias.
Gracias a usted.
What do you want people to do that are watching?
I want people to watch this, and I want people to let other people know. Let our elected officials know, let our court system know what they feel about this case, but also, in particular, the case of indigenous peoples that come to this country. These are new arrivals that are not in the mode that we know of already. And so we need to understand that there's a different history than what we expect from an immigrant. And we need to remain steady with our judicial system, but we need to make sure that justice is served in an educated manner. And so I want the people to watch what's happening, to react to what's happening by contacting their elected officials, helping organizations try to get the word out, and also educating our community. Thank you. Thank you. You want to keep this? Okay. At the end of the day, when this is all said and done, Rosalba is either going to be in Mexico because she'll be deported, even in the best of situations, or she'll be in prison, and we'll have to see what the decision is of how long she would be in prison. But the possibility is for life. The reason I'm doing this is we need to also look beyond Rosalba and make sure that others don't fall into the same situation, that we protect our community even if they don't know that they can be protected. So
That's also a message for the Mexican consul to get in touch with the citizens.
correct. Actually, and I've been working with the Mexican consulate somewhat off to the side on this, and I have to say the Mexican consulate was very concerned from the very beginning on this case. They asked if I could contact Rosalba to see if she wanted to talk to them, and she said yes. One thing that hadn't been mentioned is apparently I found out here in Ventura County up until this case, the Mexican consulate could not talk to a prisoner unless there and a telephone recording the conversation, or that a member of the DA's office was present. And the Mexican consulate came to me, told me that they believed this was a violation of the Geneva Convention. And I have to say, I had a very high-level meeting with Sheriff Giafdin, Supervisor John Zaragoza, and the Mexican consulate. And from that meeting, I have to say, and I'm proud to say, because of this case, the consulate now has direct contact without being witnessed by outside sources. So just like any person in Mexico or any other country, they have a right to speak to a representative of their government without the host government being present or witnessing it. And this case actually brought that change here in Ventura County. So there has been one thing that has been positive from this already. Now let's see what happens to Rosalba.
Okay. We'll wait for that.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Juan, what do you have to say about it?
Well, well, I just want to say that all the people that comes from Mexico they're not aware of all the services that they're available to them, and sometimes they're violated by certain members of the community that don't pay attention to what really is going on over there in the community. So I'm glad that this case came to in the open for the people to know. So does the uh, state of Oaxaca, that a lot of people come from over there now. That is mainly right now taking over the farm worker fields that to produce food for the whole community.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. And that's it.